Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dark Side of the Moon, the first ever episode of Dark Side of the Moon. Now, my co-host Lewis, will maybe join us, or he will be on the next episode. He's very busy tonight, Lewis. If you're watching that back, have a good night, my friend. Now, we're joined tonight by two awesome guys. I really wanted these guys for the start of my show, and honestly, Papa Joe and Uncle Tim, welcome.
Well, thank you.
The show.
Good to be here.
An honor to be here on your first Dark Side episode.
Dark Side, I know that you've got an episode coming up next week. Is it next Wednesday that you'll be live?
Next Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be talking about the inside the moon. It's always puzzled me that, it's always puzzled me the why. And I mean, definitely, I think the moon's definitely something else. It's something else.
Well, you were with us when we had an experience on April 8th for the total eclipse that we were experiencing.
I'm going to say right now that was a weird thing. And honestly, see, when I was holding that phone, I'll tell you something, my hands, I had to keep swapping hands because it was so sore. But honestly, you see as if it had like an indentation. It was like something like a Death Star. It was like a Death Star. It was like
we caught that from your phone.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have caught it if you weren't. You weren't doing it because you were monitoring the feed from Mazatlan, was it in Mexico or something? Or
I think that's what it was. And then I was holding my phone up to the webcam, and I held it there for the full eclipse, which is was sore after that, I must admit.
So that was pure luck we caught that.
I think we're going to see that.
Yeah, we're going to show that clip on that episode coming up.
So we also have tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we do have Son of the Naked Bigfoot, and on the Dark Side of the Moon, he is the mod in charge tonight. So there you go. Good to see you, Pete.
All right, Big Pete.
Good Pete.
Good to see you, Pete. But I've been looking so forward to this. What did you think about the trailer? That took me about a full 10 minutes to make. But I made many mistakes, so I had to keep remaking it. And YouTube, being its usual self, it kept hitting me with monetization strikes because of the music. So then I had to go to an app and make my own music.
Well, you did good. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you right now, though, when we show these clips, you will get a warning, but it says that it's allowed on YouTube, but it does. So I don't know if that hurts the monetization or not.
That's all right. It's all right. It's going to be the other channel, but it'll not be monetized. And that's the thing about this. I don't really want it monetized now, obviously, because we're only sitting at like 16 or 17 subscribers on the Dark Side of the Moon. It is going through the Ghost Squad Scotland network because that's to give it like other people can watch this. Other people can watch it. But I don't really want to monetize this because I want it to be open to everyone. Okay. Trailers can be annoying. See adverts. I mean,
awesome.
It's the same with Amazon Prime. I was watching something the other day there, and I had to pay an extra $3 so as I could get rid of the adverts.
Right.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about some serious stuff tonight. I mean, it was the last time it was Bald and Bonkers we had you on, and we were talking about that you were an air hostess, and that fascinated me. It fascinated me. I went back and I watched that 4 times, and I just listened to it.
Really,
So, Tim, would you like to tell us about your experience as an air hostess before we have a look at the videos?
So I can let Joey set this up, but in 1995, I was a flight attendant for AmeriWest Airlines, and I was never really a UFO kind of guy or alien guy. Never had any interest in it. And so we were on a flight one night, and you're going to see all of the actual recordings and the actual transmissions of my experience that we had on the flight. But I saw a UFO, we reported it, and it got lots of attention, and it changed my life. And to this day, I still believe that they're there, they're here, they're all around us. And it was a life changer. So it's a great story. And the fact that it's the most I think it's one of the most credible stories because it's so backed up with evidence. There's more evidence sighting than any other sighting I have ever seen on aviation.
Yeah. I looked it up, and they did do a documentary about it, but they portrayed the flight attendants as women. Did you see that?
Yeah. See, they tried to contact the crew for our experience and our testimonies and everything, and they were politely and firmly denied, which I understand, and we weren't allowed to talk about that stuff. So they had to use it and react it, and the only way they had is just by transcripts and stuff like that. And they did a good job. They just made me a woman, which is not a big deal.
Stereotypical
you make a
flight
handsome-looking woman, Tim.
I've transitioned now.
He had a lot more hair back then.
Yeah, I was pretty back then.
I'm the same. I don't know where it's went. It's all went to the front of my face. Why can I not grow out the same top of my head? But why?
Right.
Why?
So they did a pretty good job with the information they had, and it's pretty incredible and entertaining. But I've got a few more little aspects of the story that help it grow wings and take off, I guess you'd say.
So, Joey, will I bring up the videos first? And
do you want the sightings first, Tim?
Yeah, so
that should be the first one.
All right.
On the left.
I'll set it up real quick. So, let's just watch it. Yeah.
On a stormy night over New Mexico, the crew of America West Flight 564 saw something in the air that shocked them.
When the lightning, you can see a dark object, and it was pretty eerie looking.
Sightings has the incredible untold story of a UFO encounter at 30,000 feet.
Recently, Sightings was contacted by 2 air traffic controllers, each describing the same disturbing incident in the skies above New Mexico on the night of May 26, 1995. Here is part of one of the controllers' message, as recorded on the Sightings hotline, electronically altered to protect the caller's identity.
Yeah, working as an air traffic controller, and a pilot of America West Airlines had seen an object between 300 and 400 feet long.
Through the Freedom of Information Act, a sightings investigative team has obtained the actual radio transmission between a flight control center in Albuquerque and an America West Boeing 757. Based on these transmissions, we've been able to recreate a startling encounter between a commercial aircraft loaded with passengers and an unknown craft 6 miles above the Earth.
I'm going to pause it there for a second, Tim. So if you want, just so I can give you some instructions. So if you want me to pause it so you can interject, just raise your hand and I'll pause it.
Okay. I will. I'll let you know when. I'll just hold on. I got something to say.
Okay, cool. So here we'll continue.
Thank you, Joe.
The voices are real. The words are not scripted. This is the actual transmission recorded at the moment the UFO was sighted.
Yeah, off to our 3 o'clock. Get some strokes out there. Can you tell us what it is?
But air traffic control cannot tell America West Flight 564 what it is. The object is not on radar. The tone of the radio communication begins to change.
There's nothing on the radar on that object that's up in the air.
It's up in the air?
Affirmative.
No, no one knows anything about it. What's the altitude about?
I don't know, probably right around 30,000 or so, and the length is unbelievable.
Albuquerque controllers contact the military for an earthbound explanation.
Anna, go ahead.
Hey, do you guys know if there was anything like a tethered balloon or anything released that should be above tie band?
No, we haven't heard nothing about it.
Okay. Guy at 39,000 says he sees something at 30,000 if the length is unbelievable and it has a strobe on it. This is not good. Okay.
All right, so I'll set this up as to what happened that freaked all of us out real quick. So I'm sitting in the jump seat. I was working first class. We had left in Tampa to Las Vegas. We had just passed through the Texas Panhandle where there was a huge storm, and everybody's asleep in back. All of my people are asleep, and I sit on the jump seat up with the guys, in the cockpit, and we talk and we hang out. I hang out there most of the flight. And the first officer was on. He was looking at a Baja magazine. It wasn't his flight. It was the captain's flight, and he's doing his position reports and everything. And the first officer's looking at a Baja magazine because that's what he does on his it's his hobby, is riding bikes through the desert down in Baja. And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden at 2:00, I see this boom, 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 and I'm like, what in the world is that? I said, John, what is that? And right when he looked at it, it moved to our 3:00 position, just like real quick. And then it went boom, 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 boom. So what it was a bright strobe, and then it was a thin light going across to the other side, and then another bright light. At the time, could not understand anything about it. Knowing what I know now, I think it was a light going around a circular vessel.
Yeah.
So when it would hit the sides, it would be lighter. So it would go, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm like, John, what is that? And he didn't even answer me. He immediately contacted NORAD, and we watched this thing. And so you can listen to the rest of this.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's a UFO, so.
It's right in time. And no, we haven't seen nothing like that.
Okay, keep your eyes open.
Foxtrot Kilo.
Dr. Richard Haynes is an aerospace engineer and aviation expert. For the last 30 years, he's been conducting independent research on pilot sightings of UFOs. His collection of pilot reports is the largest in the world. Sightings provided Dr. Haynes with the America West transmissions for his analysis.
In fact, where we initially spotted it was between the weather and us, and when the lightning, you could see a dark object, and it was pretty eerie looking.
Well, the pilot has just discussed the sighting again in a little more detail with air traffic control at Albuquerque. And he said that he saw a dark object because it was back illuminated. Basically, lightning in the cloud at some distance caused the object to be visible. He then said it looked eerie.
We have only Dr. Haynes' analysis of the event because all attempts to interview the America West crew were politely but firmly denied. There is no law that prohibits them from speaking out, at least not any written law.
They don't encourage you reporting it, that's for sure.
This man, a United Airlines pilot for 35 years, also had a UFO encounter at 30,000 feet. But it is only now that he is retired and anonymous that he's willing to describe his sighting.
When it was ready to leave, it departed at a very high rate of speed, accelerating as it went, and disappeared off into the distance at speeds that I couldn't even estimate. The other crew members have never come forward.
Alitalia pilot Graham Shepard is also familiar with the industry's code of silence.
It is a commercial judgment that pilots shouldn't speak about this. Unfortunately, it's a fact of life that any member will downgrade the potential of that airline to earn maximum profits.
Despite the airline industry's efforts to silence its pilots, these transmission tapes speak for them. After the New Mexico controller's initial call to NORAD was laughed off, NORAD called back.
We had someone call here earlier about a pilot spotting an unidentified flying object.
Yep, that's us.
Okay, well, hey, we're tracking a search-only track kind of where that might have happened. It's tracking about 390 knots. We've been tracking it for about 3-4 minutes now. I mean, to be going that fast, it's got to be up kind of high.
And you got no code on it, huh?
Nope, it's search only.
It seems that the radar controller was tracking an object, an unknown, that wasn't transponding. And by law, any craft in controlled airspace must have a transponder. But it's very interesting that ultimately it was seen by the radar controller.
This is an historic UFO event. Audio tape confirms that 3 highly trained commercial pilots witnessed an enormous UFO, a UFO confirmed on radar by NORAD Air Defense Command. This is one encounter that cannot be dismissed as a hallucination or a hoax. Something was up there. Are we prepared for its return?
I've listened to the American West tape, and my opinion is that it's absolutely authentic. If handled correctly, this tape could be something of a breakthrough.
First time in 15 years I've ever seen anything like it.
Wow, I get chills every time I see it.
Yeah. it's scary that. I mean, how you seen that? I mean, I think it's one of the best sightings ever. Would you say?
I really, really do. And I'm not just being, I've watched so many now, and they just don't have, they don't have backup. They don't have evidence. They don't have anything to support the sighting. But we've got so many different top military entities that confirmed and supported, and it's just like, I'm glad. I'm really glad, but it's kind of frightening. It's overwhelming.
It's what it says to me. I mean, I ken there's a lot of people going to listen back to this when it gets uploaded on the podcast, but when they watch back this on YouTube, there's got to be people that say, but aliens don't exist. Look, I mean,
that was me.
Yeah, that was you. That was you. You were an air hostess. You were in planes all the time. Was that the first time you experienced something like that before? That the main event.
Yes, my first time. I don't have any childhood recollections of any things I saw in the sky unless I suppressed them.
Yeah.
That was my first encounter with anything in the air, which is I find that odd now.
Yeah.
But no, that was it. Since then, I've had many, but up until then, no, I wasn't aware, and I wasn't.
Well, you weren't looking.
My radar wasn't turned on. I wasn't,
It's as scary to make you think what's actually up there flying.
I'm not terrified anymore, because now that I know what I know, it's out of our hands. It's not.
But it did change your life forever.
It changed my life forever. Yeah, forever. I was growing up a preacher's kid and in church all my life, and that was witchcraft and voodoo, and we didn't do that. And it made me take a look at my belief and religion, and it changed my life. So
there's actually, it's quite interesting, with Son of the Naked Bigfoot, Pete, could have been a parallel reality bleeding through into ours. That's interesting, that, because they say, they say a lot of what the aliens out there are what's that squeaking? Is that what is that squeaking? But it's they say that aliens and stuff are in a different dimension. So what happens if that was just that the ship was appearing? Before
because of the storm that was going on, causing a different vibration to happen.
Yeah.
It, help those two bleed together.
It all has to do with dimensions, frequencies, parallel universes. It's all tied together, and we're starting to understand it. But yes, it has everything to do with parallel universes and dimensions and frequencies and everything.
I mean, I definitely think there is aliens, and there are definitely aliens visiting us. Come on, I wouldn't have the aliens behind me. I believe 100% that there is extraterrestrials visiting this planet. There's extraterrestrials that have been here even before I think we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder that why do they show you all this stuff, right? They come and they show themselves and they whiz off in their spaceships again, right? But it makes you wonder why the government doesn't want you to have it. That's maybe because they've been getting the technology from them for Roswell, and then if you go down the rabbit hole of the UFO crash landings, that our governments do like technology that gives them an upper hand,
Right, but so this is through working with many ex-military pilots that are now commercial pilots, sitting in bars and places all over the world, having a few cocktails, having them tell the things they're not supposed to be talking about. I honestly believe that we didn't before the 40s and 50s, we do now have an alliance, and we keep it quiet now. It started to be exposed. The government got shocked, and they're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they communicated with the other species that we deal with now, and they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And they've joined in a huge cover up. Now, when I first saw this thing, I wanted to tell the world, I wanted everyone to believe in aliens.
Yeah.
Now that I know what I know, I do not want the normal average person out on that street knowing what I know, because it will put an end to order as we know it. Our government, our structure, our democracy, our world, it all disappears when they find out that there's a much higher entity in charge, and it'll break down our structure. So now I will talk about it just to let you know that I know about them, but I don't want the whole world to know, because it's like that landing on the White House lawn. That's going to be the day that the grid goes down. That's going to be the day that all hell breaks loose.
See, some people look at the UFO circuit and that they actually want it to happen, but I mean, society would kind of erupt.
We're not ready for it.
I would say society. I mean, look, you just need to look at the way the world is now with wars and famine, and everybody's arguing with everybody. And then see, I think they're going to plan this. I think that will come out, because I saw disclosure and stuff like that. And they keep saying, the UFO people keep saying, oh, it's going to be this year, but then next year comes round and stuff like that. I think you're right, Tim. I think that society would break down, but maybe that's what we really need. We maybe need society break down before we can rebuild this planet in a better kind of light in ourselves,
Right. And so what happened was they got together with Hollywood and Stephen King and all this stuff and said, let's start revealing this to the public gently.
Spielberg.
Spielberg, King.
Not King.
Or many of them. The whole industry came to an agreement that we'll start releasing this information and getting everybody comfortable with it, so that when it does happen, it's not such a big shock. And then it started happening. The Close Encounters, E.T., and then before E.T. and Close Encounters, I mean, we really didn't have an idea of what a visitation or an abduction or an experience was like.
Yeah.
And that changed everybody's life. Just like when they made Jaws, nobody wanted to swim in the water. Nobody wanted to get in swimming pools. So they used this to dumb us down,
of course they did,
to ease in the burden of be shocked when we do finally experience it. So in a way, I'm glad they did that. But
of course,
there's so much more. But eventually, we're not far away from CNN or Fox saying, "Hey, an aircraft landed." Well, it had in Vegas not long ago, and nobody said a thing about it. Well, they did, but
and then they shut it up, and the people shut up, and that it was.
They shut the people up, but they want to release it to us in little bitty amounts.
Yes.
They don't want to just like stop the grid.
Do you not find it interesting? Do you not find it interesting in today's Joe? You understand with this. Remember, you're talking the other night. We were talking. I think it was before your show, and we were talking about how there's been quite a lot of UFO sightings. But this is the thing with the younger generation now, and it's not against this younger generation now. You're walking at your phone and you're walking along the road. I've seen people walk out in front of me in traffic and stuff like that because they're so amazed with their phone, and there's very little people actually looking up now.
Modern day zombies.
Modern day zombies, I should say. But that is the problem. That is the problem nowadays. I mean, look, when they came out with it, was it last year? They came out with the US government intel on aliens and stuff like that, right? On the UFO,
the Tick-tock videos and all that. Did that shock the world? Did it stop anything? No, it didn't.
No, well, at the time when that came out, people in TikTok were more concerned about the Addams Family girl doing the dance on TikTok.
They dumbed us down.
Yeah.
So, and that was a great strategy. I'm glad they did it, because like I said, back when I first wanted to tell everybody, I'm so glad that it didn't happen, because it would be too much for us to handle. I think it would screw things up. Now, here's what I think. The new kids and the new with technology and the new the way that my teenager, I have teenagers, they are, I think they are born of a different programming,
yes,
so that they will be able to handle this technology and this experience, because
yes,
they don't know what a payphone is, they don't know what a rotary phone is, and that's a huge shock to some if you were to do that overnight. So I believe that this generation has been bred and programmed. I mean, we don't do cursive writing anymore. There's a lot of things we just don't do, we've gotten rid of. They've all been programmed for an earth that we are not going to be prepared for. They're going to be able to handle what's coming.
Of course they are. Yeah, because
the older folks aren't going to be able to keep up with it, but it's going to be, we're in a transition, whether it's the age of Aquarius or there is a transition going on.
There's
now.
Definitely,
and our children are being bred and raised and programmed to understand and accept this new technology, so where it's not going to be that big of a deal.
See, I've heard loads of people out there with the Galactic Federation. I think that's who we've got tie-ins with. You know, the government do work with the Galactic Federation, but it makes you wonder too, because they put out. You look at the latest Alien movies, like you say, it's kind of like they're putting it in front of us and stuff. I mean, I ken people out there that did this stuff right into this stuff, and all the different alien races out there. They're actually meant to be aliens that look like that. Did you know that? There's actually meant to be aliens that are actually meant to look like the ones in Alien.
Yes.
Can you imagine what that's like? I mean, I know somebody that, if that had to happen, to open the door and you're expecting a guy in a spacesuit to pop out, and out comes this thing with a big long head with drone tape.
Right.
It's going to scare people.
Right.
But you're right. You're right. Maybe it's a bad idea if it happens. I think it will happen, but I don't think it will be for another 10 or 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah, I think it's close. I hope to see it in my lifetime. Joey and I were talking about this earlier. I think we're in a really, really, really special point in the timeline to where we get to witness this transition.
Yes.
And I hope, and I know I'm sure my kids will see it. I'm not sure my parents will see it, but
yeah,
I'm really hoping and thinking that Joey and I are going to be a part of that enlightenment transition, the coming of the new era. I really hope to be involved in it. It's fun to watch. I mean, we've just what I've seen since I was a teenager to now is more than most people experienced in their whole lives of living. We've gone through so many changes in the last 40 years.
Good God, yeah.
Than most people do in a whole lifetime.
I mean, look, since World War I, look how far we've came. Look how far we've came to...
Since Korea.
For 1945, for then 1950, 1954
right.
or something like that, for Korea and stuff like that. Look how far we've came.
We
Look
are
at
so
the technology.
Fortunate. Yeah. We've learned more than any generation has since.
But we've been dumbed down more than any generation before.
See, that's the thing. See, that is the thing. I do think like TikTok and all these other kind of things are bad or worse for the younger generation, because it is dumbing them down to do stupid things. They're turning into, as you say, like TikTok zombies. They walk out in front of traffic and stuff like that. But I think it will happen in our lifetime. Yeah, but I do think they're trying to release a wee bit more out every day. Every day there's always something comes out. There's like the UFO sightings and stuff like that. But it's, I mean, you get all the right UFO people are like, oh, but they're giving us technology, medibeds and all this, and it's coming, it's got to save us on. They're all getting built on the moon. What's your opinion on that? On the like, these people are right into the aliens, right? And they say that the moon is interesting fact here. I can do a follow-up after this. I just thought they're talking about the moon. Obviously, this is why the show's called Dark Side of the Moon, because there is meant to be structures on the dark side of the moon. But what's your opinion on the UFO circuit, the people that believe that they're building medibeds and they're coming to save us all?
I believe that what they don't know won't hurt them.
Yeah.
I do believe they're being dumbed down so that when it does happen, they won't be as shocked as we would have 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, they'll be able to accept it a lot easier than we would have.
Yeah, I think which
is okay, but what they don't know doesn't really hurt them, and it doesn't hurt society.
I think the surprise factor that people have these days has been really diminished because of AI and you know, I mean, we can see some crazy crap that looks so real, and it's like we see it, and then we go, well, was that real or was that?
And that's us. Imagine what our kids are doing. Our kids are thinking, oh, this is normal. So,
right.
I don't think they're going to be as shocked as we will be.
Well, I'm saying I don't even think we would be that shocked.
No, not now. Not now. I wouldn't, but I do know some people that would.
Yeah.
I know some hillbillies and rednecks and people back in Tennessee that
Gee whiz, Ma, what's that?
I know some people that are not ready for this. You know, a lot of religious people aren't ready for this.
See, that's the only thing I do worry about is the religious side to this.
It's going to change religion, and that's a scary, scary thing because and it's not. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. But it's gonna be it's gonna be a breakdown.
Yeah,
and it is going to be an issue. I just don't know how big of an issue it's going to be. Hopefully, we'll all transition, and by the time it finds out, it'll be a peaceful transition. But it's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be totally wild because at the same time as they arrive, I'll just say one type of race will come, because let's face it, there's meant to be millions and millions of races in this galaxy. So when one of them arrives, say the human looking ones arrive, I don't see if they're human looking and they look kind of like us and they're tall, they're blonde and good looking. I don't really think people are going to be like, oh, they're kind of like the same. It's when that door opens and a thing crawls out with like 10 tentacles and 5 eyeballs, and they're going to be like,
well, that's when the alliance breaks down. As long as they keep the alliance together and transition it properly, and one species doesn't get out of hand like the outlaws of the West, and go crazy and start doing things that's not allowed, that we've already agreed to as far as our transition and our reveal. As long as those specific aliens don't come in and screw everything up, I think it could be a peaceful, acknowledged transition.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is you hear about, was it Project Bluebeam? Everybody's heard about Project Bluebeam, how the government might try and turn this into, they're coming to invade and they're going to eat us all, and this is, we all have to build the one world government kind of thing, and we all have to do it. Everybody's heard this, right?
If anybody's going to screw all of this thing coming, it's going to be us. It's going to be the government. If we participate in what I believe they want to do to transition us over, it'll be smooth, unless there's bad actors on their side too. But I do believe we have the capability of really screwing this up.
I mean, what something I've always wanted to ask you, and I don't think I ever asked you to this. What's your thoughts on Roswell? What do you think happened there?
In where?
Roswell.
Yeah.
We just did a show on that.
Yeah, we just did a show on that. I mean, I believe I completely believe what I believe because of what I've, investigated and researched. It was totally a downed craft. There were actually two ships. They were flying and they ran into each other, and one crashed here, one crashed in another part of New Mexico. They don't tell about that story. There was a whole different craft that crashed. There were survivors on board. We did take the survivor. His name was CB or EB. The other ones perished. He did try to contact his home to get rescued. He died before they got here, but we communicated with them and we formed an alliance. We signed I don't know that we signed anything, but we made a treaty of we'll keep this between us, and we agreed to exchange information and technologies, and we were allowed to reverse it, but we were only allowed to reverse so much and release so much at so time, because they knew that we couldn't handle it. They were concerned about the shock value of exposing that to the planet Earth, because it would doom us. It would kill us, and they knew that. So they created all these project paper clips and blue books and everything to suppress that information so that it didn't get bombarded to the media and the public, and kept us safe. And that's why we, up until 47, we didn't have anything but a wheel and fire and a light bulb. Now we've got a microwave
and rotary phones.
Yeah, and rotary phones. Now we have, and telegraph. Right. That's not from space. Now we have fiber optics, nanotechnology, night vision, transistors, fiber. We have all of this stuff that just appeared overnight.
I mean, you look at it today. I mean, look at the jumps and technology, and I find it interesting. And it was after that event. I mean,
that was the first way to dumb us down, was releasing the Jetsons.
See, there's the people out there that say, right, the UFOs that turned up after the nuclear bombs that were detonated, right? But there's actually cases, if you look at that, and you'll probably ken about this, Tim, and you'll ken about this, Joe, that there's cases at 1875 and 1865 where there's been UFOs actually seen, and it goes back further than that. It goes back to like the 16th century,
right,
over Europe and stuff like that. You know, there's paintings.
It goes back to the Bible.
It goes,
even,
and the Mayans,
Ezekiel writing about it. So
it goes back to the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. It
all
goes
that's
back.
even further
We've
back.
been trading information voluntarily with these other species throughout history. It wasn't until the crash that we got this technology and kind of like ran wild with it instead of doing it their way.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at how the computer was invented in World War II to think with the Enigma, right? The German book Enigma, and I can't pronounce that right, but there you go. But it was the size of a small house, right?
Right.
And then in the early after, like maybe a couple of years after, like Roswell, they started communicating with these computers. They were significantly big, the size of like trucks and stuff like that. But they seem to get quicker. You go into the 80s when it started to finally, when these computers were, people were carrying them about in briefcases, and mobile phones are coming out, and the chip was invented. Well, so-called, the chip was invented. I mean, you think about where we are right now. We're talking about what the latest iPhone before we come on, the iPhone 16, right? And it's all this AI stuff. Where are we going to be in 100 years from now?
Yes. Because if you look at it like that, look at Geoteple and Machu Picchu and look at all of the stones that have been, the 170-ton stones that have been lifted and molded. I mean, if you had told me that, tried to explain to me that as a teenager, I would have completely not understood that. And I still to this day don't. And we can't do that today.
Yeah.
So that experience, that enlightenment to our civilizations back then must have been as great as it is to a microwave to us now. I mean, imagine these 200-ton stones being lifted up 300-400 feet and placed with no mortar and no, that would have shocked me back then as much as what's shocking me now.
What gets me about ancient times, and what you're talking about is fantastically amazing, but what's your thoughts on the Nazca lines? Because you can only see them if you're high up.
Right. Yeah, those weren't meant for anyone on Earth. That was communication. Yeah. It was all in communication. And it was all to show that we are communicating, we're here, it's all good. And I do believe it was a way to direct them into certain areas like landing paths. But basically communication, just like, I mean, think about when they came out with telegraph. Can you imagine what the people before telegraph thought when telegraph came out? That would have blown their minds. So that was another technology.
Pony Express before that.
Yeah, but that was a technology given to us at that time, to those people at that level, in order not to like blow their minds, but to communicate with them and form a relationship with them.
It's scary.
But that's not available now. What the information they communicated to the Mayans and the Sumerians and all of those races back then, if anybody really got down and studied it, we can't comprehend that today.
No, because that technology, it's maybe lost technology, but that technology was more sophisticated than even what we've got today. And people will say, but what happened to it? Or what happened to the technology? That is the big question. What happened?
They had to destroy it because it didn't work. Just like what's going to happen here. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
That is, it's true. So, Joe, will we play the next video? Well, I'll bring it up. I think.
Yeah, we can do that. So Iron Firehorse posted about Neuralink, and I find that really fascinating.
So this is the air traffic controller.
Sorry, press that button there, ring button.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that.
This is air traffic controller, and Joey and I just came up on this a few months ago. We didn't know about this, and we were
and the restaurant. One of the fascinating things about this one is it's Luis Elizondo, and that does this interview. And if you're familiar with him, I mean, he's really big now in the UFO world, but he was hired because he did not believe in UFOs. You know,
when he went rogue.
When they went to him, they said, "What do you think about UFOs?" and all that. He said, "I really don't." Not, but they hired him. But now, of course, he believes.
Yeah.
But so anyway, this is his interview with the actual air traffic controller that you heard in the first video.
Right. So I'll bring this up here for you. So this will be number 2. I'm sure is that the one that I just played? Yeah.
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 That's the one.
Because they're no numbered for me, so.
Howdy, Robert. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Lou Elizondo is meeting with Robert Schlinker, an air traffic controller who was trained in the military. For more than 30 years, Schlinker has guided thousands of commercial planes to safety. On May 25th, 1995, Schlinker arrived for his shift in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to learn that an airline pilot had reported a UFO just minutes earlier to air traffic controllers on the outgoing shift.
The evening shift guy, he gives us a briefing. He said, "Hey, this guy sees something out there. Don't know what it is."
Not long after the incident, an independent civilian UFO organization created a report on the strange encounter. They also uncovered audio tapes of conversations between the pilot and air traffic controllers.
On to our 3 o'clock. Get the strobes out there. Can you tell what it is?
The pilot said they had lights in the middle with strobes on the end. It was cigar shape. It was horizontal, and it was about 300 to 400 feet long.
Cactus 564, no one knows what that is. Never heard about that.
But nobody's painting it at all? There's nothing on their radars on the other antennas on that particular area, that object that's up in the air?
There's nothing painting. Painting is a term that they use, that if a radar can hit something and get a signature off of, that object has been painted.
The object is displaying one of the 5 observables, known as low observability. The ability for an object to cloak or conceal itself.
It's up in the air?
Affirmative.
No one knows anything about it. What's the altitude about?
I don't know, probably right around 30,000 or so, and it's a drill that starts going counterclockwise, and the length is unbelievable.
So you have pilot testimony up here saying they're seeing something, and okay, well, could it be an aircraft? There are some airships, there are some dirigibles, but they do not fly at 30,000 feet, and they're still not 400 feet long.
Schlinker takes over the shift and continues to investigate the reported UFO.
Now it's Robert's job to figure out what the hell it is. So what does he do? They get on the horn with folks like NORAD to say, hey, are you seeing this as well?
NORAD is the North American Air Defense Command. It's a joint U.S.-Canada defense organization established in 1957 as an early warning system in case of a Soviet nuclear attack.
So this audio file has your voice on it?
Yes.
Schlinker explains to the NORAD operator exactly what the airline pilot reported seeing.
Where is this at again?
It's at Tucumcari, New Mexico. It's about 150 miles to the east of Albuquerque.
We don't have anything going on that I know of.
Yeah, we've tried everybody else. Nobody else is. This guy definitely saw it run all the way down the side of the airplane. So it was a pretty interesting thing out there.
Okay, it was at 30,000 feet.
30,000 feet.
It was like long,
Yeah, it's right out of the X-Files. I mean, it's a definite UFO or something like that.
Oh, y'all are serious about this?
Yeah, he's real serious about it.
He says, yeah, like Fox Mulder X-Files UFO. It does not fit any normal profile or characteristic of any known aircraft.
How long did he think it was?
He said he was 300 to 400 foot long.
Holy.
The NORAD operator tells Schlinker they don't see anything on their radar. But then, a short time later, he gets a call.
Yes, we had someone call here earlier about a pilot spotting an unidentified flying object.
Yep, that's us.
Okay, well, hey, we're tracking a search-only track kind of where that might have happened. It's about 10 degrees off of what you gave me before and about 80 miles off. It's tracking about 390 knots. We've been tracking it for about 3-4 minutes now. I mean, to be going that fast, it's got to be up kind of high.
Yeah, we got no code on it, huh?
Nope, it's search-only.
Search only means the object wasn't emitting a transponder code, which is used to identify aircraft and help avoid mid-air crashes. And ultimately, the mysterious cigar-shaped UFO disappears.
Wow.
That's crazy, that.
Yeah. I can't control my chills. Every time I see it, I get the same. It's like reliving it all over again.
Yeah. That's just, it blows you away, doesn't it? It just blew you away.
Yeah. Every time I see it, I keep like getting in. I go into shock. Like I've seen it for the first time. Like, are you kidding me? I just can't get over the fact that it happened, and it affects me every time the same way because it's unknown.
And there are a lot of videos out there on it. If any of you watching or want to find them, just Google America West Airlines Flight 564.
Yeah. Put Cactus in there. Yeah. Cactus 564 and 564 case, CASE. And there's a whole bunch of information out there on it.
See, I've never done that. I've always just done America West. But I got to do that.
That's what I was doing.
I've found different ones using different words. I really have. So,
I mean, because who would know to say Cactus 564 unless you were in the business,
right? And the fact that some of these ones we've Googled gives out the names of the guys, and I don't know how they got that information. And some of them say, well, the flight attendant was the first one to see it, and how do they know that? How did they get our pictures up until I just spoke with Joey? A month ago.
There he is.
I didn't know those pictures we sketched. I didn't know they existed. And I saw them again for the first time since I saw them in the cockpit. And that blew my mind because somebody's got that information.
Somebody talked.
Somebody's always going to talk. I mean, eventually things do come out.
Well, let's get to that. So after the sighting, we land in Las Vegas, and we got ourselves back to the captain. Man, he almost wanted to take it off autopilot and go chase this thing. That's how chaotic it was in the cockpit. We had to really settle down, and the first officer was like, no, we can't do that. Because if we had taken it off autopilot and chased it, my God, we would have had 15s and we would have had Air Force scrambled to say, oh, what the hell are you doing? But for a split moment, we were in such shock. He was in such shock that he reached up to turn the autopilot to follow this thing. And we were, so anyway, we settled down. We got to Las Vegas. We pull up to the jetway. And as we're pulling up to the jetway, I'm up in the very first class cabin. I'm looking out the door, and I look out there, and as the jetway's coming up, there's a supervisor, there's a gate agent, there's a ramp agent, and there's 3 guys in suits. And it's coming up to the jetway, and all of a sudden I get a call from the captain. I'm like, yeah. He goes, get some ID before you let him in. I said, yes, sir. I hung it back up. And so we open the door, and the first class passengers are getting their stuff and everything. The guy walks up, he shows me an ID. He goes, I need to speak to the captain. I said, all right, one moment, sir. And I didn't really it wasn't my job to verify or whatever. You take it to the captain. Yeah. But what I did slightly see when I went in there was not FAA. It didn't say FBI. It didn't say anything that I recognized at all. And it looked official, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. So I took it into the cockpit. He takes the ID and says, all right, send him in. So I go out and I said, you're welcome to go in. So the guy walks in and he shuts the door behind him, and people are getting off the airplane. The other guys are out in the jetway, and there's a break in the crowd because people are like, somebody gets stuck with their suitcase. And so the one guy, he's looking at me inside the door, and I'm like, all I can do not to pee myself. I'm shaking. I hope he doesn't see my knees shaking. I hope he doesn't see my face had to be just white as a ghost. I was so freaked out. And so he just steps into the doorway and he says, hey, how are you guys doing? I said, great. How are you doing? And he goes, anything unusual happened on the flight tonight? And we're like, no, why? And he goes, well, we're just normal, just doing checks. And I'm like, yeah, no, we had a great flight. It was wonderful. He goes, all right, thank you. And he stepped back into the hallway, and everyone kept getting off. Then the guy walked out of the cockpit, and he leaves, and he goes out with these guys, and these guys stood there. And then we were supposed to, that was our in flight. We were end of our duty days. We were supposed to go over to another gate, get on an airplane, and deadhead home to Phoenix.
Yeah.
We were done. And so the captain walks out, and he's like white as a ghost. He has his stuff. He doesn't make eye contact with me. And then the first officer walks out, and he looks up at me, and he says, and I said, yeah, all right, nothing. Because they couldn't see him. Yeah. And so they walk out, and they disappear, and they're gone. We finish the flight, get everybody off board, and we get our stuff together, and we go walk over to the other flight, and we get on the aircraft, and it's a 737-200. It's 1 o'clock at night. I'm not sure what time it is, but so we get on the airplane. There's hardly anybody on there. We're deadheading home. We sit in the exit row. So we're late, and the guys aren't on board, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so the captain comes on and says, well, folks, we're just waiting on some last minute bags and paperwork, and we'll be underway, and our flying time is only 46 minutes. So we'll be on time. The weather in Phoenix is this, that. So, welcome aboard. And so then all of a sudden the guys walk on, and they come down, and they sit I'm on a window. He's on an aisle. The captain's on an aisle, and the other flight attendant's on a window. We're in the exit row. Mm-hmm. And so I look over, he puts his bag up, and he sits down. I said, dude, what happened? He goes, shh, not here. I'm like, come on, really? What do you mean not here? Tell, do what? Shh. I'll talk to you when we get the employee parking lot. And he didn't say one word to me that whole 46 minutes going back to Phoenix. And we get off, and we're walking down the jetway, and I get up close to him. I'm like, hey man. He goes, shh. I'm like, what the hell just happened? We get onto the bus. We ride the employee bus from Sky Harbor all the way to the remote parking lot. We get out, and so I get off at his stop. I don't know where my car is because I can't even think that far ahead right now. Yeah. I just got off at the stop. He got off, and I walked up to his car, and he says, we didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. We are not to report anything.
Wow.
I will lose my license, and it'll be the end of my career. So from this day on, we don't talk about this. I'm like, John, he's like, no, I'm serious, dude. I swear, we're not talking about it.
That's crazy.
And so I'm like, all right, have a good night. And we left. And I didn't talk to him for a whole long time. He avoided me like the plague. Mm-hmm. And I would try to contact him all the time, say, hey, man, you find out.
You just had a recent conversation with him, sort of, through another person.
Yeah. So I know
that's an interesting story.
I know a pilot that knows him, and they don't work for that company anymore, but they work for the same company. And I said, hey man, will you do me a favor and get a message to the FO, because I'm doing all these shows and I'm doing all this stuff. Well, let me start here. He contacts me 4 or 5 years ago and says, hey man, the captain's getting ready to go forward to tell about our story. And I thought, since you don't work here anymore, you might want to go in on it with him. And I'm like, well, all right, well, yeah, that sounds fun and everything. But he goes, all right, well, the guy's name's Walter Webb. He's in Washington, and he wants you to call him And so I called this guy in Washington, and he wanted me to take a red eye that night down to Washington. And I'm like, that's awful weird. No, I'm not going to do that. And eventually this guy disappeared from the face of the earth. All of his stuff on internet, everything was taken down, gone. I did
it's all
see
back now, though.
Yeah, I did see his name. It's all back now.
Yeah, it's all
but
back
anyway,
now.
so the captain was going to go forward and tell his story. And he goes, if you want to get on this, I'm sure he'll let you go in on this with him. So I'm like, I didn't really have too much interest in it. I was like, I'm going to wait and see what he does. 2 weeks later, John, he calls up and says, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He goes, they just found the captain dead. Evidently he committed suicide. And I'm like, or he had a heart attack. And I'm like, but he goes, I know. He goes, if I were you, I wouldn't say another word about this incident or contact anyone if I were you, because I'm not. I just wanted you to know. And that's the last time I ever talked to him. And then my friend of mine contacted him, and I said, tell him I want to talk to him. And he helped me, Joey. He said,
well, he just doesn't want to.
He doesn't
be associated with it.
Yeah.
He still doesn't want any association with it, and he'd appreciate it if you didn't use his name.
Yeah, and not use his
but
name.
his name's in print
I've been
everywhere.
Using his name on every single show I've done, and I've done 8 or 9 shows, and it tells their name right there on the video. It shows their name. So he has chosen to stay out of it, and because he does believe this will ruin his career, and I don't want that for him.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't want him to disappear like the captain did.
I mean, obviously, there has been people that has disappeared for talking.
Yeah,
and that could happen. Do you think that was a man in black? Do you think that was a man in black?
Yeah, we didn't know what that was back in '95. I don't think that movie even came out. I don't know if I even knew what Men in Black were until when did that phrase even happen?
I don't know actually. Yeah. Joey, did you came in that happened? When did the Men in Black first start appearing?
Well, it did happen in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, you hear stories of it, but I don't know. They just called them, men in suits or whatever. But it wasn't until they
Men in Black wasn't really formed as an expression until much later on. And at that time, I wasn't thinking Men in Black. I was just thinking military or higher.
See, what I've heard is that there's agencies higher than the government.
They're contractors.
Yeah, they're high. There's these people and they have more power than the president of the United States.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's just who this is.
Yeah. They know people, things that the president doesn't know. It goes up to a lot higher status. Yeah. And I do believe they exist. I know they exist, but I'd never encountered any of them before or heard anything about them before until that. Now that was just as creepy and mind-blowing as the whole experience was. I mean, yeah, that was a shock, the whole experience, but them doing that at the end of the flight, that topped it off, man. That was the ice cream. That was icing on the cake. That just that confirmed that what we that wasn't just a fluke.
Can I ask you something, Tim? Have you ever been approached by, let's say, any government agency? Have you ever maybe had suspicions you were tapped even? Have you done anything like that?
No. I did do it. I told a story about the time where my brother took me to this MUFON show at the National Guard, and they showed that episode of Sightings.
Yeah.
And while we were there, my brother says, go tell the guy in charge that's your video. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And he goes, yeah, go tell him. So I went up and I told the guy, I said, hey, that Sightings thing you're showing right there? That was my flight. I was on that flight. And he goes, are you kidding? I said, no. He goes, all right, hold on. And he went and they changed the show up, and he goes, would you mind speaking tonight?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap, what have I done?
That's why you don't believe in coincidences, because that's too crazy. You went there not knowing anything about the
I was going to learn.
And they end up showing your episode or that Sightings
episode, and I'm like, what the hell?
So there's no chances. I mean, that's That's the world, and that's the universe telling you that you need to share your story.
Right.
Yeah.
So after the show, me and my brother get up to leave, and I just got swamped by all of these people. Weird people. Those people you see at the UFO Roswell conventions with and the people that are like, I had people walking up to me going, "Oh, can I just touch you, please?" And they're like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm like, what the hell? And people are wanting my autograph. People are like, oh, I can feel it. Yeah, he's some people were telling me I had a connection. They felt the connection, or I've been like vaccinated or received some sort of gift. Yeah, exactly. And a guy walks up and says, "Hey man, do you mind being on my radio show?" And I'm like, God, he hands me a card, and I didn't know who he was. And he was one of those AM coast to coast guys in the Phoenix area. And I eventually went on his show, and it was chaos because I got into a little spat with Linda Moulton Howell. But no, nobody. I look over my shoulder. I really, really do. And you know what? The more when I was driving home that night, I was looking up.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I don't think I was sweating, but I was shivering. I knew that something was watching me, and I knew that they know that I saw them.
See,
they know that, and I know that they know that I know. So the whole way home, I felt like I was being followed or watched. And I've always had that, not so much from the government or the FBI or anything, but those guys. And I really do. They know that I know. And I know I do feel some sort of like there's somebody watching me, and it's not the government.
We're watching you, Tim.
Yeah, well,
we got our eyes on you.
You can't say that to normal people that think you're an idiot. And I don't want to ruin the story, with
I'm sorry,
making it look like, well, no, that was funny. The humor is great. I love it. You have to laugh about it because I used to be scared and really freaked out about it and couldn't sleep at night. I'm okay now. I'm not worried anymore. But yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
I think that was meant to happen. That was meant to happen because you're on the show.
That's why it was too random to be.
Yeah. And there was
to be a coincidence.
I mean, it was way too much confirmation. Way too much confirmation.
It makes you wonder what race it was that was in that cigar shop. That's because they came aboard that plane to tell you not to say nothing, right?
Right.
So obviously they were like, "Oh no." So this is why I think there's aliens that's trying to come and help us. At the same time, there's like folk that's working with aliens, trying to stop the aliens from coming to help us. And I think that's what it's all about, because they're getting technology. Look at the Greys.
Yeah.
For instance, they say in the UFO circuit, they say that the Greys are no more and they don't come to the Earth anymore. But there's still Greys out there because they were like, what do you call it? The Greys were ant-like creatures. They were like, what do you call it? There was like a hive mind. That's what controlled them. That's what people would talk about. But it makes you wonder what race that was that you've seen in this. I've always wondered the cigar-shaped UFOs. What race is that meant to be?
I don't know, because there's motherships that look like the things from Battlestar Galactica. The saucer, I hated always saying cigar and saucer. That's just so. I didn't like saying that. But here's
Pete, give me your address and I'll come and help.
Pete. Get the glow sticks out, my friend. Run into the field at night and wave them about.
Yeah.
We can do all kinds of shit. We're really talented.
Well, don't tell them that. They'll be getting excited.
I do think this, though. I do think us seeing them was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was an accident. And because of the attention that it got, they had to send out their cleanup team really, really quick because that was an accident. If it were meant to happen, then it would have just been between us, and there wouldn't be all this footage and these conversations and the people showing up. I do believe it was a mistake. It was an accident for us to have maybe not to seen it, but to report it. That may be the mistake we made.
It kind of goes back to the idea of the different dimensions, and it could be that that thunderstorm is what
it was coming through
that
or
brought those
going
two
to,
dimensions together. So
yeah, it was traveling in and out of a, and we just happened to make a big deal out of it, which it happens all the time.
That's interesting you say that, Joe, because a lot of UFOs have been sighted next to thunderstorms. It makes you wonder if they're powering up, they're recharging.
It's energy.
It makes you wonder.
I think they get energy from it because one lightning bolt can power Las Vegas for a month.
How many gigawatts?
Wow,
1.8.
1.8 gigawatts.
Yeah, gigawatts.
I did not know that.
That's what
for a month.
That's what the flux capacitor needs to do its thing. But one lightning bolt would power Las Vegas for a month. So yeah, I do believe they're getting their energy because they flew right into that storm, and no vessel, no object could have gone into the cell of that storm without being just obliterated. So I think they were using that for energy or for power.
It's a fascinating subject, guys. Honestly, you need to go to Out There, their channel, their YouTube channel. It's below this video. You can't miss it. Just click the wee button icon.
I'm going to share the
please share
the link
it
to our channel again.
I'm waiting on my new MacBook thingy coming. So before I use this daft Microsoft thing that doesn't seem to agree with my phone.
But I just want to say thank you for having me on.
Thank you. We've still got a wee bit left.
I know, but I just want to say thank you because every time I do this, I think it's for the last time because it's really not that big of a deal to me anymore. But every time I do it, I find out that it's a little more healing, and maybe I'm that person letting a few more people know. I may be not dumbing down, but sharing information for the people that may need this information when it all happens.
I think what's going to happen, I see maybe like when we're long gone, like say 100 years from now, right? Obviously, I'll not be here. You guys, you might be here. I don't know. You've been quite old, but you are not going to be here either. And people are going to look back in these videos, like Ken how they look back in scrapbooks, and they're going to be, they're talking about them.
They're going to be interested, and they're going to laugh. It's like watching the History Channel stuff now. They'll be digging this shit, but then
they'll be like, oh, look at these three guys here. They're talking about the aliens that we're now friends with, and we traveled to their planet.
Can you believe they were this stupid?
Yeah.
This is when they first discovered aliens. Can you believe this? Yeah, this could be really, really entertaining someday.
It will be one day, maybe in the distant future, because
it's entertaining now.
I got a very entertaining now. Joey, how do you do that voice? I said, do you like a soundboard or something?
I just have some pads.
He's got a chip. He has an implant.
Oh, is that what
it is? That's a whole nother show.
Well, you'll need to tell me behind the scenes after how you do that. But it's a good subject I would like to talk about, actually. But obviously, this is the first show of the dark side of the moon. Obviously, there's meant to be buildings and structures behind the moon. And you guys have actually, this Wednesday coming, you've got a show coming up about, what is it, bases on the moon, what's inside the moon. I definitely think, see the moon, I don't think see that a lot of people don't realize this, but if you go back, there's actually ancient text where the moon
doesn't exist.
Before it was there, huh?
Yeah, before it was there.
No, see, it's crazy.
What I'm thinking with me is, well, what was it with NASA when they took off, if you believe they went to the moon and stuff like that, and it rung like a bell, like it's hollow. I definitely think that there's something on the moon. I definitely think there's something there, and it's always been there. What's your guys' opinions on
that? I mean, you take it for granted growing up because it's just always been there as far as we know.
Yeah.
But then when you start learning that elsewhere in the universe, there's nothing else like it. There's no other planet that has something that's so perfect. I mean, the distance, the size, everything is just, it's too perfect to be an accidental occurrence,
400 miles away.
For it to be the same size as the sun.
The sun.
At our distance. I mean, it's just it's
they
wild.
Crashed a lunar module into it, the part of that landing thing, and it rung like a bell for 2 or 3 hours. No, and there's also something else. I mean, since you were a small kid, Have you heard the man in the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Not the face on the moon.
No, man in the moon, yeah.
Man in the moon, because there are people in the moon.
And the other thing too is, I mean, all the craters are the same depth.
Yeah,
you know? So
23 meters.
That doesn't happen here on Earth when we've had an asteroid hit the Earth.
Same depth.
They're different depths. So
it's got
there's
coating.
something weird about that.
It's definitely. I mean, you think about it over the years. They say it makes the spirits come out more. It empowers people. It makes animals act weird.
It's an energy.
There could be anything inside that. There could be a super city. There could be reactors in there that's giving off energy that's affecting the planet.
It's the supercomputer that runs our whole, existence. The program that runs our existence.
I mean, I don't want to go down the flat earther road, but I will say this: there is something weird. I watched the SpaceX walk. I mean, that was I've seen.
Those new suits are nice.
Those look like robots.
They were like,
their arms were like.
Yeah,
that doesn't have. Should be just normal flow motion. What's that? Was that a robot hanging out of there doing this stuff? I mean, who knows? That didn't look normal to me.
What I thought looked a bit suspicious is the Earth just looked like it was a really cheap camera they were using, and I don't think Elon Musk's that. Would you call it that cheap to put like a cheap camera on it?
I'm skeptical.
I mean, they could have taken an iPhone up. I don't know if an iPhone would have worked or no. I don't know because there's no. I probably would. I don't know, but a camera. They could have had a better camera.
Could have had a light on it. It could have had. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that. I think that was robots. Talk about fake. That's more fake to me than the real the moon landing.
I have too much faith in Elon Musk.
Well, I do too.
He would do that.
But he's not in charge. Remember that.
No, that's right.
A SpaceX? He's not.
There's a group in charge over the planet.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk is way, way down on the ladder, but yes, he is involved.
I think he's a hybrid.
But he's not in control.
He's just like Nikola Tesla. He was a hybrid.
Yeah. But he wasn't in control. He was still down on the ladder.
It's interesting. I will say that. I mean, look at those two astronauts that are stranded up there, didn't
Yeah. How can that happen?
How can that happen?
We can send them food and supplies while they're up there.
See, this is what I get, right? Elon Musk says they can't send SpaceX up there to dock and bring them back, right? But that ship can be flown remotely, right? With no crew.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So why not just make a couple of spacesuits, right? Chuck them in, right? Fly up there, click onto the ISS. They take the spacesuits out, put the spacesuits on, climb aboard that, and let it land again.
I'm calling bullshit on the whole story.
There's something going on up there. There was that other day there, and I don't know if anybody knows about this, but the airlines were all over the world just for a short period of time.
Okay. All right. Here's my quick theory, and I'm probably it's crazy.
He'd ask a question.
We've been put on pause going back and forth to the station.
Yeah,
we've been told now, discontinue your flights to the station. Well, what are we going to tell the American people? Well, tell them you had a helium leak. Tell them you don't have
a helium leak.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's absolutely no way we do 120 missions a year up to the station, and now all of a sudden we can't do one for 3. That's total bullshit. We have been told right now, no more right now. No more flying right now. No more doing this. For whatever reason, I don't know. But we've been restricted and banned from doing it for the next few months. And that's not coming from us.
Yeah. I mean, some of the TikTok videos, TikTok would take this TikTok with a grain of salt, right? Some of the UFO stuff that's coming out in the news is actually quite interesting. But then again, there's some of it's fake. We've got to remember that. A lot of this is fake because CGI is getting that good now. But that one the other day with the mind I talked to you last week about it. Well, the points they were made out of glass and they were coming down. That was spectacular.
The pyramid, the 3 lights on that road. Oh yeah,
people were all stopping and looking at it.
Yeah, Yeah, man.
Did I see that? Did I miss that one?
I think I told you about it. I don't think you've seen it. It's amazing. This guy gets out of his car. He says, "Look, I'm here in my car. Here's a road. There's another car coming this way. Look at this." And he points up, and there's that three stars, but he could see a pyramid on top, but from his camera you couldn't see. But he was describing there was a huge pyramid on top of it, and it was turning, and he was videotaping this, and he went back to the interior of his car, then he went back up to the sky. I mean, wow, that was incredible. That was really, really good footage.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it after and send it to Twitter, and if Tim can't find it, if Tim can find it, he'll send it to you.
I didn't save it, but boy, I may have shared it or sent it to, but we'll find it. But that was pretty darn cool. Out of all that I've seen, that was pretty darn cool.
Do you want to play your special trailer for next week? Will I pop it up for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's
this will be next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Central.
The theory that the moon is hollow and serves as a massive space station has intrigued both conspiracy theorists and some fringe scientists for decades. Proponents of this theory suggest that the moon's structure and certain anomalies observed during lunar missions provide compelling evidence for their claims. Join Papa Joey and Uncle Tim of Out There on their next Lunchtime, where they take a closer look and discuss the arguments and the purported evidence supporting this intriguing hypothesis.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
And thanks to you, Chris, we're going to have some special footage of our encounter.
Yeah, we're going to share that.
That's right. I forgot about the solar eclipse.
Yeah, we're going to show the images and the video that you captured on live TV. That, man, I still to this day have no explanation for. And it was so funny because it was NASA from Mazatlan. They cut the feed
right after that happened.
I think a second and a half after it happened, they cut the feed immediately because it started to appear, and you were doing that live. It was amazing.
I'm going to say this, that was weird, and I've heard people saying that there's a sun simulator, and obviously you get the flat earthers that say they believe in that. Look, I'm not saying that we don't, but that was weird. That was weird. The sun shouldn't have a section missing out it.
No, that didn't get reported anywhere.
No. It shouldn't. It looked like something. It came to look like the remember Star Wars with the Death Star, the last Death Star, but it was half finished. Yeah, but it was half finished with the big gouge in the middle. That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
that was the moon that was moving in front. Of the sun.
And we're the only ones that have reported it. I haven't seen it anywhere.
Is that what you're drinking there, Papa Joe?
Yeah, well, Pete asked, so I thought I should let him know. It's magical fruit punch.
I must have. I'm drawn to you tonight, Pete. I don't know what it is with that funky color change. It's very people who's watching this.
It's mesmerizing, isn't it?
It's very mesmerizing. I'm like a moth, I want to fly closer,
Yeah, so I have these really cheap lights that I bought off Amazon, and when I first started to use them, all I would do is put like a really nasty glow on it, and then I found these cheap little diffusers and I put on them, and now they work great.
It looks good. It really looks good. So guys, I would like to say thank you so much for coming on the first ever Dark Side of the Moon episode, and of course it is Friday the 13th. I forgot to mention that.
It is. Let's remember that.
Thank you.
And it's got to be an awesome show you've got on Wednesday, and we'll all definitely be. Which Chris was holding the phone. Yes, right, that's Les Lawrence, and I've still got the sore hands after it. I'm completely deformed after it,
Well, thank you so much for having us on, and good luck. And I know this is going to be great, and this is going to be awesome. This show is just going to take off, and I can't wait to see more episodes. And I'm so glad and privileged that we're the first ones on your show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I was wanting it for you guys to come on because you guys are awesome. These are legends.
Oh, thank you.
In the UFO field, But also, I also have another show starting on Sunday, which is Paranormal Truth. I've got Jenny from Emerald Isles Paranormal. She's coming on Sunday. But I'm hoping one day I can entice Pete and Pete, the Sonny the Naked, Bigfoot in the Chain, entice him in. I'll have to get my pizza or something. See, he has troubles getting, what does he call it? Pizzas delivered up into the mountains. Mind you, who would want to drive up there at night and stuff like that? But Pete, I need to get you to come on sometime, my friend, because you're awesome. But anyway, guys, there's I've made a wee trailer up. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's about Mars and stuff like that. But this is the outro. Everybody, thank you so much. Please go out there and please subscribe to these guys. Let's get them to 1,000 subscribers this year sometime. Come on, we can do this, guys.
Yes.
We can do this. You know. So everybody enjoy the trailer.
Thank